So I hope the one key takeaway people will get from the session I've just delivered is that diversity is a reality, inclusion is a choice. So this idea that actually it's about personal responsibility. And if you think that you are a leader or you're exhibiting leadership, then diversity and inclusion is an inherent part of that. So often we have to kind of almost lobby or put the business case for why you should consider diversity. But if you take the idea that diversity is just a fact, it's a reality, then actually what is the risk of ignoring that? I think the risks are threefold. I think firstly, it can lead to lower productivity. So if you have a more homogenous team, it can be less productive than a more diverse team. And we've seen that from Darwin back in 1854. I think another one is that it can be less resilient. So actually more homogenous teams are less resilient to shock and to change than more diverse teams that can accommodate more changes. And I think a third one is about risk, that homogenous teams can be much more exposed to risk, particularly systemic risks, and can be catastrophic in the medium to long term. Whereas again, diversity can mitigate those risks through a more diverse portfolio or more diverse group of people. So I think there's a lot in there. I think in terms of, in 2012, yes, I was the head of diversity and inclusion for the London Olympic and Paralympic Games organising committee, and I think London 2012, anybody that experienced it or was part of it in any way, would hopefully have seen a great platform, a showcase of diversity and inclusion. That actually whoever you were, whatever you looked like, wherever you came from, your life in some way, shape or form felt a little bit enhanced or more positive because of others that were there too. In other words, there was benefits of diversity on display at a mass scale. We saw that in the games makers or in the food or the opening ceremony or whatever it might be, or the sport itself. 4 years on, I think it's tempting to say post-Brexit, what happened to that? Where has this diversity gone? Now we're in this kind of era of post-diversity, leaving the European Union, racism and xenophobia, the US election and what's going on. And I think there is a lot to be worried about. There's a lot to be concerned about. But if I can still be positive, this reminds us that it doesn't just happen. And it's one heck of a reminder with Brexit or with the US election that unless we proactively include people and we proactively lead on diversity inclusion, it won't happen. So it's challenging right now, for sure, but I think it gives us this quite stark reminder. And hopefully we'll spur people into action that we need to do stuff. I think government has to work with business and the non-profit sector to address diversity inclusion challenges, because it can't do it on its own for two reasons. I think one, government itself, by definition, what it does, legislates and puts in place laws and governs, and that's quite a compliance-based approach. Now, I'm not saying that is completely wrong, but it's insufficient. Compliance on its own won't do this, because if people are only doing diversity because they have to, they're never going to really want to do it and get the value from it and so forth. So government has to look to business and non-profits to lead on this too. I think a second reason is because at the moment in particular, we're looking quite polarised in terms of politics and indeed maybe society in the UK or wider. And I think government therefore, business therefore, I think is the new centre ground in many ways in terms of leading on diversity and inclusion. Because Tesco's customers will have voted for and against Brexit. People that buy Vauxhall cars will have voted for the Conservative and Labour. So I think we need to see business actually as a way of, for commercial reasons, including all elements of society. And I think government can learn from that as well as vice versa. WIG plays a crucial role in bringing together these various actors, right? Government might say, yes, we want to learn from business, and business might say, yes, we want to interact with government, but how? I think WIG provides a good forum for that, and it brings these different actors together. As we've discussed today, we can learn from different sectors and transfer best practice and so forth, and so that's to be applauded.